Oh yeah, Cashapp. Oh yeah, Cashapp.
Good afternoon, people. A couple things I wanted to address with the populace. Audio is pleasantly well adjusted. Now, I'm sure most of you probably are aware of Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't consider this a political goings on. But it seems to have people agitated on both sides, it seems to be no matter what happens, someone's going to be upset. Guilty, not guilty, someone on either side is going to be upset. Now, this is a live Q&A, so if you have any questions, throw it in the chat. I got some time to blow today, so I'm in the mood to muse, if you will. Um, but yeah, before we get to Kyle Rittenhouse, a couple things I wanted to address. My Palace Chase documents have been signed. What does that mean? So, first of all, what is Palace Chase? Palace Chase is simply transferring from active duty to the Guard or Reserve. That is what I've decided to do um, again, because this is my second time. It seems to be a pattern associated with me making a decision, backing out of it, and then deciding to actually do it later down the road. Same thing happened with me joining the Air Force. Made a decision, went to talk to a recruiter. They had me some stack of paperwork. Then in that moment I decided, I ain't gonna do it. Then later down the road, actually I will do it. It seems to be the same case with this. So we'll see how far this goes. But same thing happened last time. Got the package filled out, sent the document to my commander to get signed, and then you know what? I'm gonna cross train. I'm gonna do something else. And then here we are again. Now I have the signature that I didn't have last time. My package is effectively out of my hands. It was sent up to my in-service recruiter, and so I'll be waiting for her advisement on how to move forward from here. But my current plan is to transfer to the Guard either in Florida or Texas. Haven't decided yet. But yeah, that's a quick little update on that. But we'll see. We'll see. Active duty seems to have ran its course with me. I'm tired. You understand? It's too much. It's too much. Hopefully this is my last EPR. I just drafted my draft of my EPR, sent it up to my supervisor for a critique and what have you. So hopefully that's the last one as far as active duty is concerned. And I can move on to something else. What are my plans? A couple things on the horizon as far as career paths I might be able to pursue. But I'm not rushing. You understand? I'm not rushing. But yeah, Palace Chase is done as far as what I have on my plate currently. And then now I'm just waiting for advisement on any critiques that she has for my package, and then I'll make those adjustments, and then I'll submit the actual package to AFPC to be approved, and we'll go from there. But that's a little update on that. No longer cross-training alone, but more so Palace chasing, and then if I cross-train from there, that'll be a different thing. But I don't really have plans on staying full-time as far as the Guard is concerned. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, today's topic, which this is the first trial that I followed mostly start to finish. There was one point, I think it was maybe around day 4 or 5 or 6 or so, where it was just too much. It was too much to watch, and my anxiety was being affected. And I was like, you know what? I prefer peace. Peace is more valuable in most cases than just about anything. And so in those moments where you're observing the trial, and of course me being a fan of legal rhetoric anyway, just the jargon itself, it's so satisfying to hear everybody argue back and forth. My mind just on 10 listening to it. The objections, the speculation, the no foundation, it's beautiful. Hearsay, all the different objections. I love a good back and forth, a quality debate. And so, being a part of that, from a distance, what was enjoyable. But yeah, we got the verdict yesterday. And, we were just monitoring. It was about 4 days of deliberation from the jury. And, of course, everybody's anticipating, what's going to happen. Will there be riots? What's going to happen as a result? And it seems to be politically charged for some reason. Even racially charged when no black people were shot. It was at Black Lives Matter rally and what have you. And of course, I'm not one to get into politics of it because, while I'm still in uniform, I really can't. There's too many tripwires. But of course, there's wisdom. And so whenever I do address current events, I try to take a wisdom perspective from it, at least when I'm addressing it on YouTube. Until I'm fully out the uniform, then, it's fair game. And I just go and get canceled next week. So, but yeah, wisdom. I'm not going to get too deep because a lot of it should be obvious. But we have to talk about a couple things. So the title of the stream, Does justice truly exist? I don't know. I do not know if truly we can say that justice exists. Kind of like freedom. Does freedom exist? So if I might, I would like to lay a little bit of foundation. Um, and of course, again, it's a live Q&A. So if you have a question about anything, throw it in the chat, and hopefully we'll get to it at some point. If you want to support the channel, throw in a super chat, things of that nature. So does freedom exist? Does justice exist? These are kind of words that we hear thrown around, and there's not really any evidence to say that freedom, as presently defined, exists, or justice. There's a lot of talk of judgment. Judgment. Don't judge me for what I'm doing over here. Mind your business over there, and I'm gonna do what I'm doing over here. Don't judge me. Are we allowed to judge other people? Can we say that we're gonna judge other people? Twitch is acting up. When it comes to judgment, you go to Planet Fitness and immediately on the wall, or you go to Crunch Fitness and you'll see on the wall, no judgment zone. No one's judging you. And I'm like, isn't that a judgment itself? To say that we don't judge people and we frown upon people that judge other people. Lunkers, we're judging lunkers for what they do. People that are, muscle building or hypertrophy inclined. We judge them for being too big, for lifting too heavy. But then we say, hey, we're going to judge you for judging them. That's judgment. And you immediately enter this circle of reasoning, or the circular reasoning. And I'm like, how do people how does that register up here? When you see someone judging someone, you say, hey, we don't judge here. But then you're judging them for judgment. So anyway, we have judges. We literally have judges. And we say we shouldn't judge other people. How is that possible? How is that possible? Words like justice, freedom, we really have to dig into them. Freedom, for example. Does freedom exist? My argument would be no, it doesn't. And most people will immediately go to, well, you can do whatever you want to do, but there's consequences. Cool. But does that change the definition of freedom in terms of, am I free to do whatever I want, free of consequences? Because at least the way I'm defining freedom is that it doesn't matter what happens. You can choose to do whatever you want to do with no consequences. That's what freedom is, at least to me. That's the way I'm defining it. Which again, someone else is going to come along and define it the way they want to define it, which defeats the whole purpose of the English language. If we all take words and say, I'm going to define it this way, you're going to define it this way, what's the point? If I say 1 + 1 is 2, and you say 1 + 1 is 3, what is the point of mathematics? If we all have our opinions and we say, this is this way and this is this way, but they're supposed to be the same thing, how do we move forward? So, what I think most people are alluding to is liberty, where in most cases there's fences. Don't go too far left, don't go too far right. There's ceiling and floor. Don't go too high, don't go too low. There's limiting factors on how we can move through a certain space, such as planet Earth. No one can do what they want to do. No one can. The U.S. government can't just move through any airspace they want to, and they try to, and they do, but there's consequences, and there's restrictions, and there's fear of being shot down, that there's consequences in terms of a world that you cannot do whatever you want to do. I can't jump off a cliff and expect gravity to ignore my existence. Gravity will inflict upon my person its will, and there are no exceptions. So, Kyle Rittenhouse, did we get justice? And I say we as in, did I get justice in terms of how I define justice, the way I view Wisconsin law, federal law, state law? I don't know. I wasn't rooting for any side particularly. I was more so curious as to how do we define certain terms in light of the law that is presently existing. I don't know that the court of law as it currently sits is capable of granting justice. Because no matter what the court decides or the jury decides, one side is going to be upset. And they're going to claim, we did not get justice. And this is where the conversation evolves into, all right, what is the point of the court of law if one side is always going to say, we didn't get justice? It doesn't make sense. I'm starting to think that justice is simply, it's a concept. It's a hopeful, somewhat blind faith, if you will. And faith being evidence-based by definition. It's something that we expect to exist relative to our own opinions. Most people chose a side relative to the side they wanted to win. Meaning, if they thought Kyle Rittenhouse was guilty or innocent, that judgment or that belief was based on who they wanted to win, not based on law. That's the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is based off your own experiences, your own opinions, your own view of the world, solipsism, if you will, your lens. Whereas deductive reasoning is based on law, principle, standards. Those even be somewhat relative, mainly because they're written by another human at a given point in time. Even a group of humans, they have opinions, but a group, of course, consists of individuals. I love unraveling this. Just make my juices flow. And anyway, so did anyone get justice? Meaning, relative to the law in place, the law. And again, this is where we come into issues because the law has to be interpreted. You have more than two lawyers, but there's two sides essentially. There's the assistant district attorney, Thomas Spinger. You have the other side where it consisted of, I believe it was 3 lawyers on the defense counsel. Everybody has a different interpretation of the law. Gun charges thrown out. Why? The gun was too long to be considered a pistol or short barrel rifle. Short being relative, which means there needs to be a standard in place. Two sides of the defense and the prosecuting attorneys disagree on what short means, disagrees on the law as it's currently written. Therefore, you have a judge to break the tie. If the judge picks any side, the other side's going to be upset. He's biased. He's racist. Who knows? As long as laws have to be interpreted, as long as a written rule has to be interpreted, someone's going to be upset. Therefore, someone's going to claim they did not get justice. How do we win? How does anyone win where there's all this subjectivity that has to be muddied? You got to muddle through all the subjectivity. And at the end of the day, someone's going to make a decision that's going to throw the balance off. Because the goal, seemingly, is to play any given case directly down the middle. No one gets upset. No one's slighted. No one's treated unfairly. We go right down the middle and give a fair trial. But then in the middle of this fair trial, you have all these different opinions. The law's there, but then we have all these different opinions. Unfortunately, a lot of these cases are not black and white. I would prefer a world where things were just black and white. Were you speeding? Define speeding. The speed limit is 75. Were you going any amount of speed over 75? Well, I don't know. Was my speedometer calibrated properly? Relative to what standard? All these subjective standards, I promise you, subjectivity runs me up the wall. It's too much. It's too much. Where something that should be very simple, such as you were going faster than 75 miles an hour. Therefore, you're speeding. Therefore, you're a criminal. Therefore, you must serve time for breaking the law. But then someone's going to come along and say, speedometer was off, your speed gun was off, you sped to catch me while I was speeding. Therefore, we're both speeding. How does you breaking the law it's constant, it's continuous, it's ongoing. I don't think justice exists. Not the way it's currently presented, not based on the way the laws are currently written. It can exist. It's opinion based. Justice is opinion based. Again, that's according to the trial process. Two sides, one side has to break the tie in favor of the other. So, how do we fix this? We go back to the laws and we write them in a very binary fashion. But unfortunately, humans don't fit into a world that is very black and white. It's always nuanced. It seems to always be nuanced, that nothing is black and white. We have to interpret stuff. It's unfortunate. So, wisdom. Where does wisdom fit into the Kyle Rittenhouse trial? Youngins considered innocent, according to the jury. But this doesn't stop here. The road ahead for Youngin, being 18 years old, freshly entering adulthood, it's a tough one. Now, depending on your news source, which is, again, another unfortunate part of information and news, is that it has to be filtered through someone's will, through someone's opinion, through someone's view of the world. Your information that you get is going to be filtered already before you get it. Fox News is going to say, oh, all this misinformation. President Biden was saying this, and MSNBC was saying this, and somebody was liable, and all these different, suable offenses. And you go to the other side and say, bro, we ain't gonna get, the Young Turks are saying, bro, we ain't gonna get no justice, bro. We can just take guns and go do whatever we want, and it's gonna get off because someone interpreted the law a certain way, and no matter who you listen to, it's gonna be biased. Therefore, how can justice exist as long as we're just constantly having to interpret something that was written by a human? The road ahead for Youngin, and again, I'm trying to present this live as objectively as possible. I'm trying to be as objective as possible, and of course, every news source thinks they're being objective. Fox swears we're just looking at the facts. He was defending himself. You go to CNN, MSNBC, he murdered these people. He attempted to murder a third. He was successful with 2. The one thing that, would your opinion change if the person Kyle Rittenhouse shot was your family member? Because I would imagine, and even at work yesterday when the verdict broke, I was one of the first people to acknowledge it and to kind of mention it, because I like to start fires, just hear people's opinion, especially in environments where there probably shouldn't be conversation concerning certain topics. I like to kind of push it a little bit. I'm messing up stuff. It's always fun to bring fire into the arena. There we go. So, just kind of hearing some people celebrate the verdict and hear some people, what, he got off? How did that happen? And you immediately start seeing where people sit, especially when it comes to the spectrum of politics. Even, again, this trial should not have been political, but somehow it is because of the events surrounding, the actual, charge and what have you. But you start seeing how, they're celebrating. They must watch Fox. They must be Republican. They voted for this given person. And then you say, they're upset. They're surprised at the verdict. And you start seeing how on both, you start building the spectrum of the political spectrum in the office. And of course, I try to play devil's advocate. Depending on who I'm talking to, if they wanted him to be guilty, I stir the fire with them. So you think he was guilty, huh? And then, the Fox watchers, Try to, oh, so, pro gun? It's just fun as hell. Especially in the military environment where you're not supposed to talk about politics. This is one of the reasons why I need to get out the military, is just to get away from all these rules. It's too much. It's too much. If you have opinion, if you have an assertion, you're gonna suffer for it. It's too much. Imagine an 18-year-old having to start his life, his adult life, with his face plastered everywhere. His face plastered everywhere. Half the country hates you already. Before you even get a chance to go to college, probably barely out of high school, your face is plastered everywhere. This is where wisdom comes in. Because I can imagine that there's people on both sides of the aisle, if you will. I'm sure there's some of you who wanted him to be guilty, wanted him just his whole life behind bars. And then there's another side of those who believe he was just defending himself. The gun charge may have been a thing, but since they threw that out because of the length of the barrel, it's not a gun anymore. It's a hunting rifle. Who knows? Who knows? But wisdom. One thing I pride myself on is nights like this, evenings like this. This very moment where I'm on a live stream, musing, speculating, presenting conjecture in a harmless fashion that does not end up with me dealing with the outside world. I absolutely love evenings like this. Why? Because wisdom tells me and teaches me over the span of time is that idle hands, especially a person like myself, a man, a black man, idle hands, they tend to get you, at some point you're going to end up in hot fire. At some point you're going to end up in trouble. I'm in a hotel room in Amarillo, Texas, minding my business, speculating. In most cases, that's where I belong. In most cases, a man like myself needs to be in a hotel room, minding his business, speculating. I lived in D.C. during the Black Lives Matter rallies, protesting and riots. I lived downtown, Washington, D.C., awaiting to outprocess Andrews Air Force Base. I was aware of it. People in my office were going downtown. I was I was in an Airbnb ordering DoorDash, minding my business. Why? Because just because I have the ability to do so, just because I'm in close proximity to something that I may or may not believe in, just because I might believe in a phrase and not the organization supporting the phrase, I know at some point something's going to go wrong when you have too many people that are being emotional about something. It's too much. It's too much. Often in the military, you're gonna see moments. You're gonna see moments where you can easily participate and say, "Well, I got an opinion on something. I want to go. That looks fun. Looks like they're having fun over there." Sometimes the better option is to go mind your business somewhere else. Sometimes by yourself. I'm a huge advocate of introverts getting out of their comfort zone and going to participate to gain some contrast in their life. You shouldn't always be alone. You shouldn't always be around a ton of people. Sometimes you need to experience contrast, which means sometimes I'm spending time with a lot of people and I'm in the mix, and sometimes I'm by myself. And by doing so, by having a little bit of both, you can appreciate the differences and the contrast between the two. There comes a moment where when you're always in amongst people, at some point, something's going to hit the fan. And it takes wisdom to know the difference of this can only be above board. This only can be calm for so long. Because humans make choices out of their free will at any given moment. And of course, watching Fox News, you'll hear he had every right to be there. 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse had every right to be out in the public square like everyone else. It's facts. Should he have been? It's not up to me. Should his mother stopped him from going out? It's not up to me. It's not up to me. Rhetorical question: if you asked Kyle Rittenhouse, would he do all this over? If he had a chance to do all this all over again, would he do the exact same thing he did this time around? Would he go? Would he take that gun, or a different gun, or any gun, or pepper spray, or bear spray, or a knife, or a crowbar, or a skateboard, or a plastic bag? Would he go at all? Or would he go home and play video games, chill with his sisters and his mother, order DoorDash, watch Netflix? There's 1,001 options that if he could do it all over again, what would he choose? Often, and especially moving forward, post this live stream, you're going to be faced with choices. Tonight, I'm going to be faced with choices. What am I going to do tonight? FOMO, fear of missing out. Everyone wants to be a part of the movement and the stuff and the proceedings and the fun. At some point, you're going to slip up. At some point. He was the only person with a gun. Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't the only person with a gun out in Kenosha that night. Yet, he shot, five shots? Shot 3 people, killed 2. Why him? Why him? Out of all the people that was present in that region, why was he chosen? Yesterday, I broke the bottom of my phone. As you can see, it's cracked. And I asked myself, was there any moment before preceding that moment that I could have avoided cracking my phone? I hate that I think that way because I always try to, what? I could have prevented that somehow. But now it's just going to bother me. I've made videos on, a sign of insanity is your ability to live with something broken. I can't stare at this phone in its broken condition. It's going to irritate me. If this laptop screen had a crack in it, I would lose sleep. I could not do a live stream staring into it. But of course, you play the tape back and say, what was I doing that caused me to lose track of where my phone was? I have a case on it. I've dropped it many of the times, but this time it broke. It was bound to happen at some point. A cell phone at some point in your lifetime is bound to fall and break. The question is when and how badly. Imagine your life being in that analogy. Right now, I'm sitting in a hotel room in Amarillo, Texas, by myself, talking to a camera, talking to 8 people on YouTube Live, speculating about a court case. There's not a ton of potential negative energy. There's not much that's able to go wrong outside of me saying something stupid that derails my career or gets me canceled, something of that nature. There's not much that's able to go wrong. But typically when you leave a closed environment, such as a hotel room or your bedroom or your house or your apartment, you go out into the world, there's decisions that are made, thousands of decisions. Will I text and drive? Will they text and drive? Do I defensive drive or do I drive offensively? They got road rage over there. They're on drugs. They're drunk. Their kids are yelling in the back. They're eating fries and driving. They're texting. They're vlogging. You're surrounded by people constantly making decisions. And the issue is you won't be in control of all those decisions. Right now, I'm pretty safe in this room. There's not much that can go wrong. This composition is throwing me off. You understand? You guys understand what composition means in the world of YouTube? There we go. Sitting in this room, I enjoy the peace that this room has. Some will call it boring. Some people will call me boring. I'm like, bro, you just sit on camera and just you don't do nothing, man. Where's the fun? Where's the fun, bro? Where's the excitement? Where's the rush? Where's the zeal? I prefer this. Not only because it's predictable, but because the potential stays within my control. Which means if something good happens, it's not gonna be too high. It's gonna be moderately positive experience. The same for a negative experience. It's not gonna be too low, meaning I won't be on trial next week. I won't be dealing with the death of someone that's their blood's on my hands, whether it be murder or just a killing, what have you. I prefer the low potential energy and the low exposure to extremes. Extremes almost never benefit you. Extremes almost never benefit you on either side. Politically, extremes almost never benefit you. You're going to be wrong no matter who you vote for. They're politicians. No matter who you vote for, you're going to be wrong. The best person for the job, whether it be president or this cabinet or Senate, House, whatever, the best person for the job is never voted for and never wins. It's the state of politics. It's the red pill of the world we live in. The right person for the job will never be hired because we don't vote for the right person. We vote for our opinions. If you were on that jury, you would have voted for your opinion. Hopefully, you would have seen the error of your ways and say, you hear the judge constantly saying, only look at the facts in this courtroom. Don't go on the internet. Take your biases out of it. Look at the facts. Did that take place? I don't know. I don't know. The dangers of dealing with the judicial system, I can't even say the word, is that you have to deal with opinions that come with it. I don't think justice exists in the way a lot of people think it does. Because if we get the end result we want, justice was had today. What a beautiful proceedings. Ah, amazing. Outstanding. Bravo. But when it's the opposite side, now we're upset. And we say corruption, bias, unfair. How is that possible when it's supposed to be straight down the line? It should be the same process every time. Imagine your Subway sandwich be made 10,000 different ways. It should be the same process every time. Therefore, we get the same end result. Therefore, it tastes the same every single time. Justice should be the same sandwich every single time. Not relative to a side winning, but to the truth being pursued. Brings up the next point I wanted to kind of speculate on. It seems as if justice is relative to how good your lawyer is. I don't think truth is ever pursued in a court of law. Almost ever. I don't think truth is the point. I think who's the better lawyer? Who can make a better argument? The mindset of the judge, their will, their opinion, their willingness to be objective. This is why I personally, I don't want to be nowhere near two lawyers and a judge, ever. Ever. It doesn't seem to be beneficial to be surrounded by lawyers and a judge. I don't care if it's civil. I don't care if it's family court. I don't want to be near two lawyers and a judge. Why? Because those lawyers are getting paid either way. The lawyers get paid no matter who wins. The judge gets paid no matter who wins. The jury, they get paid no matter who wins. Which means I'm the only person affected in that room. And you get people just throwing around opinions and wills and interpretations and definitions, and I'm just right in the middle of it. I hope y'all pursuing truth and not just opinions in here. The lawyer's job is to win, not to pursue truth. The lawyer's job in a court of law is to win, not to pursue truth. A defense lawyer doesn't care whether or not their client did it or not. A defense lawyer cares about winning. Whatever my client tells me is the truth. And therefore, we just go with it. So when you look at where justice is supposed to exist, is in a court of law. And then when you have two lawyers, when their only job is to pursue winning and not truth, and of course the judge's only job is to be objective between the two opinions, not the truth. The law is not based on the truth. The law is a guideline, and therefore it's interpreted by the two lawyers, and the judge breaks the tie. Which means truth does not exist in a court of law. Therefore, justice can't exist in a court of law. What's the point? It's crazy. I'm sitting here trying to think. I'm like, is there any exceptions to these rules that I'm pretty much just creating at this point? I watched a panel of like 9 lawyers, and they just all speculate and they give their experiences and their wisdom and what have you. All these opinions floating around again based off their experiences, and well, that's unconstitutional and that's not true, and the video said this, and the video should have been broken down this way, and that shouldn't have been admissible. There should have been a mistrial here because the blurry file was given to the defense, whereas they had 4K footage, but then it was airdropped when it should have been emailed. It should have been on a thumb drive. It's foolishness. Imagine your life hanging in the balance, and it's just foolishness. You got cameras from different different networks. You got people following you in a car trying to get pictures of the jury. It's foolishness. And you're going to have the winning side saying, this is justice. This is beautiful. This is the proper proceedings. You have the losing side saying, that's corruption. That's biases. We need a fair trial. I don't know. I don't think, and again, this is an opinion. It's an assertion. Um, it's my hypothesis, my thesis. I don't think justice exists. It's a beautiful concept. It's a beautiful thought. Justice, freedom, the pursuit of truth. I don't know. The best thing you could do is avoid the court system. Be a law-abiding citizen. A law-abiding citizen. Mind your business. Boredom is a gift, especially in the military. Boredom is a gift. To have nothing to do, which means you can do anything, it's a gift. My evening is wide open. I'm choosing to sit in a hotel room and speculate online. It could go wrong many different ways, but the potential is not too high. It's just moderately stable. Most people will run their lives emotionally chasing that fear of missing out, and they're going to end up in a place like Kyle Rittenhouse one day. I cannot imagine the anxiety that comes with day 1 of deliberation, day 2 of deliberation, day 3, half of day 4, waiting on 12 people, 6 on reserve, to determine your fate, literally for the rest of your natural life. I deal with anxiety now. Imagine the anxiety that comes with those 12 people that don't know me, supposedly, that have opinions on both sides. And obviously, we don't know their opinions. We don't know their view. We don't know who they voted for and what side of the aisle they sit on. Because as soon as they give any evidence of what side they're on, they're going to be dismissed from the jury. So that means there's people on both sides that sit on that jury. Hopefully. And then we look at the end result, the verdict, and we say justice was had based on what we think was all the opinions were dismissed, all the biases were dismissed. These people came clear headed with no opinions, with no misinformation, no network influencing their decision. And we assume courthouse has people out there waiting. Y'all better not pick the right side. Y'all better not say the wrong thing. I don't think justice exists. How could it? How could it exist? Be careful. That's all I'll say for that. Be careful. There's a part of me that wants to be a lawyer so bad. You understand? I love winning. I love arguing. I love debating. I love winning. The battle of wits. But there's a part of me that also understands the gravity of the lawyer's position. Also, there's a part of me that understands how much work goes on behind the scenes. I ain't trying to do all that extra work, digging through regulations and precedent and law theory and law studies and I ain't got time for all that. The part of me that wants to be a lawyer just wants to be the court lawyer, like the guy that shows up in the fancy suit, Tom Ford, Windsor knot on 10, Rolex on, just out there. Tell us the truth, man. Catching people in lies. Oh my, the amount of perjury that took place in that trial. Oh my goodness, people. There's a part of me that wants. So I told Alicia this. There should be a third lawyer or third party lawyer, if you will, in the courtroom that's only there to hand down judgment for perjury. I promise you, I was boiling watching. I'm like, bruh, you just got caught a lie. You just gonna walk out? The judge is gonna let you walk out? Bailiff's just gonna let you watch out? Well, it was ridiculous. You would think that once someone acknowledges and takes the oath and like, all right, I'm gonna tell the truth, nothing but truth, tell me God. You would think that's enough to make someone just tell the truth the way it is. Unfortunately, the English language is so complex that there's so many ways to answer a question. And you guys know I hate the answer. It depends. I hate. Well, I don't remember. Like it's just ways to deflect. There should be two possible answers in a court of law: yes or no. That's it. That's it. All these explanations and in depth. What I meant was, I know I said that, but what I meant was, it boils my blood. I promise you, it's too much at this point. Hearing someone explain what they meant when it's clearly a lie. What's the point of testimony? What's the point of the oath? I don't know. Maybe I missed my calling as a lawyer, but of course, I'll probably be I'll lose my license so quick. I'll be disbarred ASAP. I'm like, you can't ask that question. I'm like, bruh, I asked him if he killed him. I asked him. I don't know. Who's in this chat, man? I was trying to monitor it as I was talking and ooh, here's one. Dominus asks, can judgment be good or bad? Can judgment be good or bad? Well, the point of judgment is to determine if something is good or bad. I can't remember what I was watching the other day, and they said it's either good or bad, or right or wrong. No, it was like, what was it? Right or wrong, good or bad. It was something to that effect. Judgment itself is necessary. I don't understand how people can say, hey, don't judge me. That's how the world works. You're walking down an alley and you see somebody creeping out. Looks like they got something in their hand. They got their hand in their pocket. Aren't you not going to assume the worst? Does judgment not keep you alive? The only way to get to survival is to make judgments in a given moment. Fight or flight is a judgment relative to stimuli. It happens with or without your permission. Your hormones don't wait to say, hey, do you want to judge this person? Would you like to judge this person? Or do you want... Your hormones react. They respond to stimuli. Your brain doesn't wait for you to say, hey, I know they look suspicious. I know they look dangerous, but I don't want to judge. Your brain, do you want to live or not? Do you want to keep your money or not? You want to keep your car keys? You want to lose your watch? Do you want to proceed in this life as is? You want to take an L? Judgment's required. It's a requirement. Your decisions will be judged. It's the world we live in. So it's unfortunate, but people say, don't judge me for my decisions. Let a pedophile walk through the courtroom. Any judgment for that person? The excuse young and dumb is reserved only for people that aren't criminals. Because if you break the law, there's no young and dumb. No, that's called murder. Yeah, it's called murder. Theft. Let it be one of your family members that's the victim. There's no young and dumb. There's going to be a ton of judgment. And now the question arises, where do we draw the line between this is good to... We should judge this stuff and don't judge that stuff. As soon as you draw the line, you're going to be caught lacking on one of the sides. If I say, hey, don't judge me for my weight, but then I say, I only want to date people that are fit. What if that person only wants to date people that are fit? Doesn't that indict you? That's how people move through the world saying, I only want to date someone who's financially well off. I'm like, all right, well, are you well? No, I'm still building. I'm still in school. I'm still doing this. Well, what if that person doesn't want to date someone who's well off? Will you call that discrimination? Or will you say that's their preference? The person making the decision will call it preference. The person who is on the other end of the decision, if they're rejected, they're going to call it discrimination. How is that possible? Judgment is something that we all do by default. It's not something we choose to do. It happens without our permission. It's involuntary, like breathing, like our blood pressure. Our hormones, they react to our environment. So judgment, it's not good or bad. It is. It's like mathematics. It's like gravity. We judge. And the quicker a lot of us, stop fighting it and realize, if you say don't judge, that's a judgment. If it's true, it's wrong. Most people can't think past their emotions. That they filter everything in this world through their emotions. And you'll usually recognize that reality by two words. I feel. Those two words precede every sentence someone says when everything they think about the world they live in goes through their emotions first, not their mind, not their brain. They're going to say, I feel like this, and this, and this. I'm like, it might be true, but a lot of times it won't be. All this intuition and people still get it wrong every single time. How? Isn't it interesting that your intuition is so strong that you only knew that this person wasn't good for you after they betrayed you, after they cheated on you? Why wasn't your intuition strong enough to tell you before? That's mind-blowing. That's crazy. Your intuition is so strong, but it only tells you after someone betrays you, after someone stabs you in the back. Oh, my intuition was right. Why didn't you follow it immediately? And it should have been on the first date, right? Why doesn't your intuition work on the first date? Why doesn't your intuition work when you swiped right or left? Why is it that your intuition only works in terms of history? There's no forethought. There's no predictions. There's no foreshadowing. It's just all. I guess I was right about you the whole time. Were you? Were you, man? That's crazy. I don't know. I don't know. Vulnerability. First of all, I mean, I want to get too far into relationships. I want to get off the title. I'm already presenting tangents, as is. But um, I don't know. Judgment is necessary, people. It is. It is what it is. It doesn't change. It's not going anywhere. As long as we have courts of law, we will have judgment. As long as we have judges, we'll have judgment. As long as we have opinions, we'll have judgment. Hormones, judgment. It's how the world works. So, yeah, you will be judged. I will be judged. Up votes, down votes, likes, comments. That's all judgment. So it won't go anywhere. Planet Fitness, if you're watching, Crunch Fitness, if you're watching, all these other dusty establishments, there will be judgment everywhere. So yeah, it's unfortunate. We don't want to live in a world that has judgment, but that's the truth of our existence. If you understand. So what else we got? I'm gonna skip through a lot of the opinions. I'm gonna skip through a lot of the opinions. There's something satisfying to watch people just lose their minds over stuff that doesn't affect them. If you're a family member of someone who was shot and killed, if you're the person that lost your bicep, if you're one of the people that were there, involved in that incident, that's one thing. But there are people losing their peace over something that's happening thousands of miles away. It's amazing. It's amazing. What else we got down here? We get off here at the wild. Here's something. What do you think of the quote in Ecclesiastes? I can't even say it. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. That's an interesting passage. I tend to agree with it. A lot of our stress as humans comes from caring. When it comes to the actual quote, I don't know. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. I'm not sure is that the exact quote. I would say this. It seems as if the more you know, the more you can make predictions. It's been my experience. Provide a little anecdote. It's been my experience that the more knowledge I accumulate, the less I trust humans. The more I know about human nature, the more I study human nature, the more I observe human nature, even my own human nature, my own tendencies, my own wants and needs and desires and vices and weaknesses. The more I observe humans in space, on planet Earth, doing things and stuff and going places, there's no reason for me to trust a human. And then I look at my own relationship and I realize, are there good people in the world? Because if I'm experiencing one, I don't pause at possibility. I pause at the probability of how grateful I am to have met one good person. And not even that she is good, but that she's good to me. She's a nice person to me. She's kind to me. She's generous to me. I don't know. Wisdom has to be defined, at least in the way that it's written, has to be defined in context. So the way I define wisdom will be mentorship, learning from someone else's experiences, understanding how the world works from a experiential standpoint, not this hopeful or optimistic standpoint. Um, it's a very subjective quote, but it rings true in terms of the way I would redefine it, or the way I would restate it, is that the more you know about something, the more you know about this universe you live in, the more you're held accountable, and therefore that comes with emotions. As your knowledge increases, you're gonna have certain emotions about said knowledge and certain facts and certain realities. If I found out that humans are greedy and selfish, that would affect how I want to enter relationships. Why would I be trusting? Here's something. Dagger says, people miles away became passionate on these things because of the fear of it setting a precedent throughout the country to be the norm or something they disagree with. Um, it's possible. It's possible. One thing, so if you watch CSI or Criminal Minds, excuse me, all this talk of copycat killers, copycat criminals. They see something and then they want to do it in their own way or similarly, or they want to do it almost identically to how the original person did it. I don't think many people are willing to take that chance. At some point in the future, there's going to be protests and or riots. At some point in the future, it's bound to happen. Definitely around the next election, or sadly when the next person gets shot and doesn't have a weapon on them. There's going to be a riot of some sort. There's going to be a protest of some sort. Not that they're the same thing, but there may be at the same time proceedings. Um, I don't think many people are willing to take the chance with the court of law the way Kyle did. Not that he had a choice. Now, precedent's real. Precedent is real. A lot of court cases, they lead to other court cases ending in a similar fashion because that precedent. I'm real hyper aware of precedent and Uno. Oh, we're allowing that. All right, cool. You set precedent. If that's how we respond to that stimuli and that variable, moving forward, when it happens again, I don't want to hear it when I do it. Unfortunately, that's not how court works. That's not how law works. And we've seen this. You hear all the speculation of what if Kyle was black? What if the victims were black? I'm not here to get into all that. All I'm saying is that most people are not reasonable enough to realize that same court case can have one different variable and end differently. That court case can have one different juror. There were 6 reserved jurors that had to sit there and wait in case somebody got removed or couldn't make it or what have you. One juror could have changed everything. The judge could have declared and offered mistrial with or without prejudice. He didn't. What if the prosecution proceeded differently? What if the defense proceeded differently? It's unreasonable to think that every court case is going to end the same, or the same court case is going to end the same, if we just left it alone, switched out one person and said, all right, instead of Kyle Rittenhouse, it's going to be Raymond Isaiah. I don't know if it ends the same. Precedent exists, 1,000%. But it's unreasonable to say that if we just kept the same court case and changed one variable, it's going to be the same. I can see how the fear of your comment works as far as next time there's a riot or a protest, somebody can bring a gun and defend themselves. That's possible. And it's highly, in my opinion, highly probable that it's going to happen again. And now we have a court case on the books that says, as long as it's self-defense, and someone, probably like myself, is going to read heavily into, all right, what state do I live in? All right, I'm currently in Texas, but I live in New Mexico. Let me read the law on self-defense. And then I'm going to start carrying my gun. In Texas, you don't need a permit to conceal carry. This is the most gun carrying, gun toting state. Everybody got that thing on them. And most people are, I don't think most people are going to go read heavily into the statutes of what is self defense. Most people just say, if you cross the line, I'm gonna show you this thing. Just don't cross the line. I don't know. People saying Kyle gonna join the military. I don't know. The road ahead for Kyle Rittenhouse is that his face is everywhere, and that, I mean, after he may pursue all these lawsuits, as far as defamation is concerned, he may not need to work. He may not want to work. He would definitely have a career waiting for him in politics. Definitely, the NRA might need him to, who knows? Might put him on the board, or I don't know. Might become a lawyer. This might have inspired him to become a lawyer to represent, gun toting folk. Who knows? Here's a question, Aiden, to personify. I don't know how to say that. The question to you: would you trade in your accumulated wisdom with a lack thereof, since ignorance is bliss? That bliss could lead to a better state of one's mental health, but at a cost. Absolutely not. That's a very good question, but absolutely not. I spend most of my free time, most of my waking time, accumulating information. I watched a ton of videos this morning on Bugatti versus Koenigsegg, why F1 tires only last 50 miles. Just information. I love information. I love knowing stuff that I shouldn't know. I enjoy the process of accumulating information that I don't need today or right now, but I might need one day. I enjoy that. I enjoy understanding the difference between mistrial with prejudice, mistrial without prejudice. I enjoy knowing stuff. Now, it comes with a price. It comes at a price. Perfect example, the blue pill versus red pill. It comes at a price. Once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. You can't unsee that. One quote I read a fact on the internet a while back. I was at work. Just it's garbage time. You got 30 minutes left at work. You just kind of, I ain't got nothing pressing. I ain't got no emails. I'm kind of bored. I read facts. Love reading facts. There's this. Well, I don't think it's a fact, but it's an assertion, if you will, or opinion. The quote was, "The smell of freshly cut grass is actually the grass crying out in pain." And once I read that, I can't smell freshly cut grass anymore and not immediately think, this poor grass is just crying out in pain, and therefore I now smell. It doesn't even make sense that the smell of grass is because the grass is crying out in pain. It doesn't make sense, but it's stuck here now. It's stuck here now. This question could easily be watered down into blue pill versus red pill. Would I rather stay in the blue pill and I'm just gonna, the world is beautiful and people are nice and people love exist and people want the best for each other and the world is safe and things are good and the troops. No. People that are optimistic and go to war, infantrymen, they die first. People that don't have respect for their enemies, they die first. People that underestimate their enemies, they die first. People that have road rage in a state where there's no required permits for concealed carry, they get shot first. It's how the world works. I watched a video a while back. This guy, road rage again. He pulled out in front of somebody. The guy behind him honked his horn. Hey, man, don't do that, bro. The guy got out of his car. Big guy got out of his car. The guy in front, and got out of his car. Started flexing on old boy. He was like, bro, you gotta see me, bro. Pulled up on him. The guy in the back pulled out his thing. He was like, hey. He showed him that thing. Bro, run right back into his car. Luckily, he wasn't shot. Wasn't killed. But I'm sure he learned you can't just keep running up on people. The truth of the matter is, this world is not safe. It's a very dangerous world to be ignorant in. I would rather be miserable and informed than be at peace and ignorant to the reality of this world. And some people are literally that. There's an article about this couple who decided to ride their bikes across the Middle East because they believe that humans are intrinsically good organisms. And they're dead now. They died. They were murdered. Get in focus, you understand? Why is this out of focus? They died. Some people will have to learn via pain. There's two ways of learning: wisdom, pain. Imagine having to learn everything you know about this world because you experienced it. I don't think you make it past the age of 10. Probably, I don't know if you could make it past the age of 5 if everything you knew about the world came only through experience. You wouldn't last long. The first time you experienced a hot stove is because you touched it. Oh, the stove. That's what hot means. Oh, don't walk out in the street. Why? Because I got hit by a car. Don't play around with your spine doing all this yoga. Oh, you paralyzed? Don't be cracking your neck, cracking your knuckles, arthritis. Imagine having to go through the world only experiencing things and finding out the truth of it because you experienced it. That's highly inefficient. And at some point, it's become ineffective. At some point, you're going to die. Some mistakes are immediately fatal. Some mistakes, all this talk of young and dumb, that doesn't apply to criminals, but applies to you. All this talk of young and dumb, at some point, you make the wrong mistake, and it's immediately fatal. That's a nice snake over there. That lion looks so cuddly. Let's go hug that lion over. No. The world's dangerous. In a lot of cases, I would even argue most cases, humans are dangerous. Our potential is crazy. Understanding the low level of threat that exists between all humans, you would think people would be more kind to each other. You would think people would lower their tone, lower their voice. But some people just walk through the world as if, oh, I'll call the police. What if you're dead before the police get here? It's crazy how people move through the world thinking people won't do the worst. There should be a level of gratitude, a level of cautiousness when you communicate, when you move in certain spaces. Why? Because the world's dangerous. And you see some people, they make a mistake and they think, oh, no, they ain't gonna pull the trigger. They ain't gonna do it. Yeah, I would gladly live with anxiety and be informed and be knowledgeable and have all this foreshadowing, playing certain scenarios out, overthinking. It's a luxury. It's a luxury. I consume information so much, and luckily I'm able to harness it and not forget them. Luckily I'm able to listen to things and watch videos and consume them at a high rate. I watch most of my videos at 1.75 times of the normal speed. Man, because people just talk slow, whatever. But yeah, it's a gift, it's a curse, it's a luxury. It comes with stress, it comes with anxiety, it comes with, in a lot of cases, depression. You start seeing the reality of how humans live, and yeah, you watch Cheaters, you watch, all Dr. Phil and Oprah, and you're like, these people truly believe what they believe. It's wrong. And yet you see how they confidently and anxiously, they believe wrong information. There are people driving around town thinking, ain't no speed limit, bruh. That speed limit's a suggestion. And they share the same roads with you. So, yeah, I would gladly be informed. Gladly be informed. And it comes with a lot less excitement. My life is... Some people might look at my life and say, bruh, you live a boring... You're just in a hotel room. And this is fun for me. I'm about to watch football. I'm about to relax. I'm about to get some food later. I'm enjoying myself. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I enjoy the stream. Getting a little close to the political line. But yeah, no, it's a court case. It's a court case. But anyway, hopefully you took something from this, something small, something anything. You took something from this that you could think about, muse about. It's a lot of fun to play with topics like this, such as justice. So, words that are thrown around, but people believe them to be 100% in existence. I'm like, are they? Is it really? Does justice truly exist? I don't know. Some people have never thought about it. Some people haven't really peeled back the layers of the onion to realize it's not likely. I don't know, but I'll leave it at that. I will say it was good to y'all. I enjoyed the stream. Say it was good. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all next stream. Say it was good to you.